I'll hand over to Marc and enjoy.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for having me. And indeed, I'm a huge fan of Joomla in general, and of Joomla custom fields in particular. So I'll share my screen. Yeah, okay. Do you all see my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So today's session is totally non-technical, right? If you can just use Joomla, create an article, you can follow everything. There is no coding, no difficult things. We'll just make a step-by-step presentation of the Joomla custom fields. And if you want to follow that, because we have a limited amount of time, so I could speak hours when it's about custom fields. So there is a detailed version of this presentation. If you go to my website, or more in particular to slides. My company name being Woluweb.be, so slides.woluweb.be. There you can find all the presentations I've made in English or sometimes in French. So this is the first page, and on the second page you have this custom fields, a step-by-step tutorial, right? Then you can see it either in as a pure page or as slides, depends on what you want to see. So this is a slides version, right? Page by page, and it's very detailed. So maybe I'll go too quickly today on some details, but if you go back to the full presentation, then you even have, let me show you, for every step, you even have animated GIFs, right? So you have little videos of everything I will talk about today. So the URL is slides.woluweb.be. But first, before starting, who has, I don't know if everybody has already tried custom fields, or do we have basic users or advanced users so that I can maybe adapt my presentation?
Probably a mix. I'd be on the basic end.
Yeah, Australia's user base is pretty much implemented, so there'll be people that are using Joomla day in, day out, but there's not a lot of programming types. So you'll probably find that, yeah, if you target it as an intermediate level, we should be able to accept that.
Okay. But custom fields are really a game changer for Joomla. So it was introduced in Joomla 3.7, so a few years ago. And it has really made Joomla so much more powerful. Because without custom fields, I really think that I would stop building websites, so to say, because with custom fields you can build really powerful things, and more when I have to build websites without custom fields, well, it would be really limited. Just a title and a description for an article. Most of the time, people, I don't know, if it's a website about films, then you want to add the or about books, you want to add the author, the year in a structured way. So this is what custom fields allows us to do. But let's do it step by step. So I will go to this website which I use for different presentations. The URL is joomlacustomfields.org, right? And I used it recently just to show how far you could go with custom fields. For example, I used one custom field being OpenStreetMap, right? So an alternative to Google Maps. And each article has an OpenStreetMap location. And so on the global map, I can show all my articles. So this is a more advanced use of custom fields because this requires a bit of coding to make an override in order to display my OpenStreetMap, gathering all the locations, right? So this is a more advanced case. But for today's session, we'll make something which is really standard in Joomla. So in my slides, I speak about, I take the example of a recipe website, right? Where you have pizza, pasta, and then on top of the free text, the free description, the classical description, and the intro image, right? We have added a few custom fields like type of dish, the date, the number of persons, the preparation time, even a quote, for example, right? Or a link, a button here. So this is a kind of thing, this is very standard, very easy to achieve. Let's see how to do that, but maybe I'll take another example than the recipes, since we are all Joomlers here. So let me connect to the backends. There were a few updates this morning. Well, tonight for you. So let's suppose we organize a Joomla Day Australia, if COVID-19 is finished. So let's say we'll have sessions and we'll have speakers, right? So let's create a menu for our speakers. So in English, I'll create a new menu item. Speakers. And what would it be? I want it to point to a category, to be a category block. Oh, but wait, I've forgotten to create my speakers category. But never mind, because maybe you've noticed quite recently, like 1 year ago or so, we have this new button allowing us to create articles or even categories while creating new menu items, which is quite handy. Otherwise, you would always have to explain your end users, no, don't forget, first create the articles, then the menu items. So here we can create it directly when we create the menu item. So I just say I've created this new category speakers. My new menu item, okay. I'll just check whether we have it. Yeah, we have it here, the speakers. Here at the end, maybe I'll put it as first. Right. Okay, so far, nothing new. Then we are about to start our custom fields. And custom fields can be applied to different things in Joomla, to anything in Joomla. Even if somebody builds its own component, you can integrate Joomla's native custom fields, right? So, but Joomla integrates it for articles, so content articles, but also for users. You can add custom fields to users, and also to contacts. So the contacts are the contacts for the contact forms, right? So when you have a contact form, you can add custom fields on that, which is also very handy. And I think that Nikki has published an article about that, right? So in our case, speaking about articles, I just go to content and I will create a field group, right? So before, well, you don't have to create a field group, but it can be handy to gather all the fields speaking about the same thing. So here I will call this field group speakers, because I already have custom fields on this website for recipes, for Joomla events. So now I want to have my own category called field groups. So far, it does not change anything to the website because I've not created and assigned any custom field to this speakers field group. So now I click on fields. So being also content fields, right? Here I'll see all the custom fields I've already created for this website, but today we want to add custom fields for speakers. So what do we have natively? We have 16, well, I have more because I installed some other ones. We have 16 native custom fields in Joomla, and you have a bit of everything. You have a basic text custom field. So for example, if I wanted to, well, for each speaker, maybe I want to mention the country. So I say this is pure text. I don't need the editor, right? It's just a one-line text. So text is just perfect. And I will, I could save it, but actually I will do, okay, I already have a custom field having that name. So I would just, it's just a label. The label is like the alias, right?
You can call it
so
author country.
Oh, author. Yeah, wait,
Or
it was,
speaker.
okay,
Yes.
speaker country, right? The label is generated automatically from the title. Of course, when you save it, you can customize it, right? Well, sorry, the name is like the alias. The label is what you want to appear on the website. So I write country. One thing I want to do now is that I created a field group. I already had recipes, ingredients, Joomla events, and I created speakers. So I will assign this custom field to speakers, right? And now I save it, right? Save and close. I'm going to show now what it changes. If I create a new article, the classic way, I have, oh, maybe I'll just disable, because I like the asterisk template. It's installed here, but I don't, it adds extra tabs in my interface. So I don't want to bother you with that. So asterisk, I'll disable the asterisk framework. Okay, asterisk is a very nice template framework, but it's not the topic of the day. So I go back to my articles. If I create a new article, well, for example, I could say Nikki. Nikki is a speaker, and I have the title, I have the contents, blah blah. But what you see here is that we have an extra tab, right? Because we created the field group called speakers, we have an extra tab called speakers. And here I have all my custom fields being assigned to the speakers field group. So for the moment, I only have one. It's a text custom field called country. So country, Australia for Nikki. And I save it, right? If I do that and I go to the, oh, sorry, this article, I did not assign any category. Of course, this should be a speakers article, right? And I save it again. Now, if I go back to the website and I click on the speakers menu, well, actually, I see my article title, Nikki. I see the regular content, and I see the custom field I've just created, being the country, Australia, right? But then you're going to say, Mark, if I have a website with plenty of articles, like country is not for the news, it's not for the homepage, it's only for the speakers. So how? Because indeed, now if I create a new recipe, add new article, if I create a new recipe, I also have this speakers tab, right? It's just nonsense. So that's why we can organize our custom fields by field groups. If you don't have field groups, the tab would just be labeled fields, right? So if you just have a couple of custom fields, it's good enough. But once you start to have many custom fields, which are not assigned to all articles, then you want to organize them in field groups. Now, if I go back to my fields and where's my country? Oops, sorry. Speaker country. Right, so each custom field can be assigned to one or several categories. So this way, if I assign it to speakers, then obviously when I edit a speaker, I do see that speakers tab, right? But if I edit or create a recipe, let's find a pizza. Okay, I see those custom fields about recipes, about ingredients, but I don't have that speakers tab, right? That's the way I can organize my custom fields and assign them. Yeah, I'm going to edit Nikki's article. So let's suppose we have more content, blah, blah, again, lorem ipsum, right? Just to make it more visual. Maybe I could add an image. I don't have a picture right here, but well, okay. Like this, never mind. It's just an example. Right, so if I go to Nikki's page, I see that we first have the custom field. Well, we first have the title, then the intro image, then the custom field, and then the contents. But this is something I can configure, right? If I go to my custom field, here I only showed the type. The type cannot be changed once you have created and saved a custom field, right? If you said, oh no, it was not a text, it was a list, or it was the editor that I wanted. Okay, if it was another one you wanted to create, then you just delete it and create the new one. Because once it is created, the database has been adapted, right? So you cannot change the type because the structure in the database is not always the same. It depends on the type of custom field. So here on this first tab, I see the type, which I cannot change now. I was saying the name. The name is exactly what is called an alias everywhere in Joomla. So I don't know why it was called name. The label is a label which is shown in the front end and in the back end, right? The description, well, you can only one country per person. For example, right, if I do that, when I open a new page, this can be very handy. I edit Nikki's page and I don't see the comments, right? The description that I've just typed. But actually, if I hover the custom field label, then the description I've just typed appears, right? So this is a very nice way to help your end users. When you create a website, maybe you have 10 custom fields, and you can add a little comment there in the description. you can say whether it is required or not. You can give a default value, like if most of your speakers at the Joomla Day Australia do come from Australia, then you can say default value is Australia, for example. Then you can have filters. The filters always depend on the type of custom fields, right? Here it is text. So you could say, hey, I don't want that a hacker or a funny user starts to play and insert HTML tags, for example, in this field. So I could say, no, I just want row or safe HTML or pure text. Or if it's a year, maybe you want to say only integer, right? So you have different filters that you can apply for this custom field, but the filters always depend on the type of custom field, of course. Maximum length, okay, for the text, maybe you want to say maximum 20 characters, why not? But what I wanted to show is that we have more here. We have an option tabs with plenty of options, and the one I wanted to show is this one, the automatic display. We have several choices there. By default, it is before display, and indeed, if I go back to the front end, it is before the content of my article that I have my custom field. But I could say, no, I want them after. All right, I can choose after. Let's see what it gives on the website. Okay, then I have my image, my contents, and only after my custom fields values. There are even more possibilities after the title. So I think that the difference between after title, I just opened the article, yeah. After title literally means after the title. And so before, in the case of this template, this is Protostar, but maybe every template can have its own design. Maybe sometimes the intro image or the full image comes even before the title. So this all depends on your template, of course. But this is why it's sometimes confusing. You think, but it does not change anything. It's the same thing, right? After title and before content. The only difference can be like, for example, this intro or full image. So this way you can choose where all your custom fields should be displayed. And you can even say, do not display. So why would you want that? Anybody has an idea? Does it make sense to create something and then not display it?
Use some filter afterwards, I guess.
Yeah, you could use some filters. Yeah, it could be a custom field just for you as a reminder, like is it confirmed or not? Maybe you don't want to display that on the website, but you want to keep the information in the back end as an administrator. So it could be a custom field just for yourself. But there is another case where you will display the custom field on the website, but still you will choose automatic display, do not automatically display. Any idea? No? Because sometimes you will display it, but not the default position like before or after the content. Maybe sometimes you want to have your own layout. So let me show you if it's not because we are working on the website now, so some things are unpublished. I will show an example, but I first have to log in. This is a website about movies, right? So every year there's a big event, and in all the theaters or cultural centers, they show movies. Right, so now I can show a practical example. Right, so this is a website, plenty of custom fields. I use them to filter on the day, on the type of film, is it part of my favorites or not, the name of the film, like I can filter like this by typing. And I have plenty of custom fields, for example. I choose another one where I have a video. That one has all the fields. So, like in this case, it is not a default layout, just having title, custom fields, and then description. Here we have more than that. This is a title, but for the rest, all the layout is totally customized because I have plenty of custom fields. So I have one custom field to have an image gallery right here. I have another custom field to have a video, a YouTube or Vimeo, does not matter. I have different custom fields. Then this is the regular content, the description of the article, right? And again, these two buttons are custom fields, URL custom fields. Then for each film, you can say where it will be shown, right? So for example, here in Paris, okay, in Paris, and you have the date, the time, these are custom fields. Also a free text, like if you want to say, and the producer will be there and there will be a drink, whatever. And then you have all the details of the film, like who is the director, which year, the length, the number of minutes, the country, the language, the production team, right? So here in this case, there are so many custom fields. I just don't want to display a basic list of custom fields. I wanted to customize the layout. And this is why we have this possibility here to say, do not automatically display, because then I will display them in my own override, right? I hope you all more or less know what is an override. Otherwise, I will quickly show what it is in the demo. But an override is a nice way to reorganize the article layout or any layout on your website. Like if you say, oh, I don't like this layout because the image is too big. I would like to have the image on the left side and all the title, text, and custom fields on the right side. To do that, you would make an override or an alternate layout. It's almost the same thing. It's the same technique. So when you want to change the layout, you will use that. And in that case, you select do not automatically display. But for the moment being, I would choose the standard one being before display. Then maybe I will create a few other ones so that I can show you different custom fields which are available by default. So if I create a new custom field, for example, GitHub account of the speaker or whatever, Twitter account of the speaker. For this, I would want to use URL. Actually, the 16 available fields, natively available fields are these ones. You have a calendar. So the calendar allows you to choose either a date only or a date with time, which can be very handy, like if you want to have a website for an event. Then you have another custom field being checkboxes. So there you can select different values. Oops, sorry, I moved this. So I can select different values with which will be check boxes. So option 1, another option, right? You can also choose colors. So why would you want to choose colors? Okay, a basic use could be to say, what is your favorite color, right? And you would know the favorite color for each speaker. But I don't think this would be the most frequent use for such the color custom field. Actually, you could use color because then you could say, hey, I want, for example, a background color for my articles. And I want, for example, yellow for one article, blue for another article as background color. So this would allow us in our override to use the color picked in the article itself. The editor. So the editor, with the editor, you have more than the basic text field, right? We've just seen the text. The text is just one line, one row. Here with the editor, you really offer the full editor, Joomla editor, so that people can have more possibilities. You also have integer, okay, like if you want to write the age or whatever of the person. JCA file browser is not a native one. It's when you use JCE, sorry. The list custom fields. Is a bit like the checkbox, right? You write different options and people can choose from, the users can choose from. A list of images. I don't think it is widely used. Media, when you want to add an image. So when it's not enough to have the intro image and the full image. We also have radio buttons. We also have a repeatable field. This is a more recent field. It was not there originally when custom fields were released. This is quite powerful because sometimes you want to add information, but you don't know in advance. Like for the speaker, I could say, okay, as a written resume, tell us all the events you have, the Joomla events you have attended, the name of the event and the year. Actually, you don't know in advance. Maybe some people have never attended an event. Some people have attended 10 events. So you don't know in advance whether you will have one field or 10 fields, right? One value or 10 values. And with the repeatable field, you can make that. You just create it once. You will say, well, the name of the event, year of the event, and people will be able to add 1 or 2 or 10 or 15, right? So we won't create all of them because it would take too much time. I just go quickly. SQL. This is very handy if you know how to make a query to the database, because there you can really take anything straight from the database. So this is maybe for more advanced users, but if you know how to formulate a query, it's very, very powerful. Like if you want to say, I want all the list of all articles having this and that characteristics, right? You could do that in SQL, for example. The text we have already seen. Text area is the same, but is a bit. It's for a few lines of text. URL. Well, you use it a lot, and for example, for URLs, you can say, yes, it's URL, but I want only HTTP and HTTPS. Or if you want the email address for somebody, you will just say mail to, and then people can only add an email address in that field, right? Users or user groups. I've never used them, but there are obviously use cases for those custom fields. So this is already a lot, right? When you see 16 or 17 custom fields, you think, well, I don't miss anything. Well, actually, once you start playing with custom fields, you start saying, hey, I would like a YouTube video custom feed. I would like a button custom feed. I would like a download custom feed. I would like plenty of other custom fields. So just to give you some couple of interesting links, Tassos from Greece has made this advanced custom fields. And what is really nice is that there are more than 15 extra custom fields that you can add to Joomla. So let's see the difference between the free and the pro. Well, there is also a pro version, but you don't necessarily need it. When you have the pro, you have more options for each type of custom fields, right? You have YouTube, Google Maps, Bing Maps, OpenStreetMap, Vimeo, Dailymotion, SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, Facebook Video, True False, Time Picker, Currency, Country, HTML5 Video, Audio, iframe, email, progress bar, download button, Gravatar, QR code, PayPal, module loader, file upload, or even custom PHP. The last ones are only for the pro versions. But this is really, really handy because in one place you have more than 15 extra custom fields. Another custom field which I like a lot is the articles by regular labs. In the next edition of the Joomla Community Magazine, I have already written a first list of all the custom fields and custom fields extensions that I found on this planet. And I'm updating that article, which was originally published in French. So hopefully in the September edition, I will be, my article will be finished and I will be able to give like maybe 100 different custom fields and custom field extensions that you can install on your Joomla website. So I like this one a lot because it's another type of custom field. Articles, oh, sorry, it's not that one. It's articles fields, right? And thanks to this custom field, we can link articles together, which is very handy. We were talking here of a website for a Joomla day. Well, typically in a Joomla day, you will have a session, a topic, and you will have authors. So you will have a category for the sessions, a category for the speakers. And thanks to this article feeds, you could be able to link them, right? And say, oh, this session is given by this person, this speaker, or these 3 speakers together, right? So let's just download the free, oh, maybe it's already installed. I'll just check it. Just finish here my example here for the Twitter accounts. For the speaker. Right. So I'll just check, maybe I already have the article fields installed. Yes, it's already there. My article feeds by regular labs. So you also have the free version. The pro version is more powerful, of course. But let's see what it gives. Let's create a new custom field and use that type. So it's articles. Right, so linked, I call it temporarily linked articles. And I will assign it to the speakers and to the category speakers, all right? Okay, I just save it. We'll come back to it after. And now if I reload Nikki's page, article. Well, now I can fill her Twitter account and I can link an article and I see all the articles on my websites, right? But maybe this is a bit too much, especially if I have thousands of articles. So actually in this custom fields, well, linked article, I'll keep the title, but I can even say that I don't want to show all the articles of the website, but only some categories, like, for example, in this case, I would say, okay, I would say recipes, and I will call this field favorite meal, right? Just for the example. Now, if I save this, I go back to Nikki's article. Now, as a favorite meal, I only see 2 articles and not the whole list of all the articles of my website. And I can say, Nikki, what is your favorite one? Pasta or pizza? Okay, I will say pizza. So now, if I go to the front ends here, right, we have her country and her favorite meal being a link to the pizza article, right? And this makes custom fields even more powerful because then it's not only a series of extra fields for certain categories of articles, like here for recipes, type of dish, number of persons, preparation time, ingredients. It's even more powerful because then you can start to link articles between themselves. And you have that example many times. If you have a website about books, well, you have a list of books and a list of authors. You don't want to repeat the details of the author every time on the book page, right? Then you can make the links, and the link can play in both directions. This is what was used on this website for our own Joomla Day, joomladay.fr. So I should log in, I think, because the program we had to cancel because of COVID. So the article is not published anymore. Sorry, I just log in. Yeah. So just to show a real life example of this. For our own Joomla Day, this whole thing, the whole program was made only with custom fields, right? So we have, well, let's take the first session by Rowan. That was the keynote. So if I open the keynote, well, I don't have a long description, but the keynote is linked to a speaker, being Rowan. I can click on Rowan, and then I see Rowan's presentation, and I can see that she had 1 session, right? And for the layout, we made layout override so that it was nicer than just pure black and white layout. And so this way, program, I'll take maybe another one for speaker having 2 sessions. Even this table, then this table is made, well, everything is in our articles, right? The day, the time, the speaker, the title. So all this is generated directly. There is no extension, no component. It's only Joomla articles. And this is a kind of summary page of all the articles, right? I'll just take another example, maybe for a speaker who had 2 sessions, right? Marc Dechèvre had 2 sessions, so on his page, well, we could see the details, his Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn accounts, as we've just made in our example, the Twitter custom field, and he has 2 sessions, and the link was made with the regular labs articles field. And so if I click on one of the 2 sessions, I can see the detail of that session, and also the link again to Marc, right? So you can really play around, and there are links between all articles thanks to that regular lab articles field. Right. So we have done a lot already. Let's create a new custom field, and because so far what we've done was just simply displaying the custom fields like this, right? Just a list of custom fields. But you can also say, no, okay, I don't want to like, I would call this quote, and well, just text area, for example, does not matter for my example. And I assign it to the field group speakers and the category speakers, right? And I will say that I don't want to display it. Of course, I already had a field called quote, speakers quotes, right? So let's edit Nikki's article. So now we have a quote, right? And if I type a quote, what could Nikki say? I love traveling, especially for Joomla, right? So if I save it, it won't appear. But I just delete the image because actually it takes too much space on my screen. We don't need the image, right? So for Nikki, we have her country, favorite meal, but obviously I don't see her quote because it is set on do not display automatically. And why can you do that? Also because you can always manually say, right, that you want to insert some custom field. And here is her most famous quote. And I want to insert the value of the custom field really somewhere in my content. I want to be free to insert it anywhere. So this is why we have this button field under, well, I use JCE as text editor, so I have the button under my editor, but if you use the Joomla standard editor, then it could be a button right among the other buttons. So there is a special button field allowing me, oh, why don't I see it? Allowing me to, oh yes, maybe I did not assign, no, I don't know. Allowing me to select one of the custom fields to display here, right? And then it changes it into a kind of shortcode saying field 10 in this case. So if I do that, and I go back to the website, oh, I don't see a custom field. Actually, I never use that because I always use overrides. But okay, you get the idea. Maybe we should check with some empty website. Maybe I did something special. But when you want to insert manually a custom field value in your article, just go in the editor and click on the field button, and you see the list, and you can insert them in your content. Or directly type field 10 if you know the ID of the field, right? But the next step, there are different things I can show before doing an override. Actually, here on Nikki's page, I see that all the custom fields are before the content, but what if I want to change the order? This is quite simple because it's just the usual way of changing order, right? So here you can sort by title, as usual, sort by access, sort by anything, right? And so you can also sort by the first column being the order. And when you do that, the handle, so the three dots. So then when you do that, when you sort by order, then the three dots are not gray anymore. They are black, so they are enabled. Then you can simply drag and drop. So here I had country before speaker. If I want country after speaker, then I just drag and drop. And if I refresh the website, I want speaker country. I know. Okay.
Country before favorite food.
No, sorry. I had my filters enabled. Sorry, I was playing with other custom fields. So here you always have this button, like everywhere in Joomla, where you can filter, have more options to filter. So if you click on search tools, you can say, oh, I only want to see the speakers fields. And there I see all the speakers fields, and I can say, so like right now, country is before meal, speakers country is before meal. If I want the country as last, like this, then I refresh and I have country as last, right? So this is a kind of customization I can make. If I want to change the order so that it makes sense for my website, I can simply change the order there. I can also say the favorite meal, for example. If you organize a Joomla day, maybe you had created this field because there is a lunch or a dinner, and you wanted to know for each speaker what they would like to eat, but it's not for the public, right? So what you can say for each custom field is that, so for the meal, for example, what you can say is that this field is not public, it's only for the registered users or the people having administration rights, being special, right? So if I do that in the front end, yeah, I'm connected. I just changed one setting here on my website because I am connected, I think. It's not login. Wait, I just changed one configuration. So where was it? System. Yeah, I use shared sessions, meaning that when I'm connected in backend, I'm also connected in front end, right? So I just stopped with shared sessions, so I will be logged out, front end and back end. And this way I can show it when I go to the speakers. Now I only see the country. I don't see the favorite meal anymore. But if I log in to the website, yeah, this one. So what is the menu to log in. Don't have a menu to log in. Users. Okay, I just created a new item to enable front-end login, right? Unless I have it here. No. So login, select users, login, right, and in English, but I don't want to show it in my menu for the users so that nobody knows this menu does exist. All right, so now if I go to /login, okay, it does not appear in my main menu, but it does still work. Let me just log in. So now if I log in the front end, and I go back to Nikki's page, then since I'm logged in, I can see her favorite meal, right? So we can play here. Favorite meal, right, yeah. So I can play with the access just like for anything else. I could also create a custom field being as guest so that I can say, oh, do you want to know more about this book? Then log in, create an account and log in, right? And if people log in, then they would see the other custom fields, which would be, for example, on registered, right? So you could simply give an incentive for people to create an account and to log in to see more information about your content. So the favorite meal was there. I did not speak about all these options. So of course you can say, I want to show the label, yes or no. So if I don't show the label, wait, what did I change here in my access is guest? Okay, sorry, that's why I would not see it anymore. I will set it to public. That's the thing about doing live sessions, right? So if I hide the label, then I only see pizza, right? I don't see the label anymore. And I have already used that. For example, sometimes I don't want to have text label. I just want to have an icon. And then here, if I use, this is just Protostar, the template. So I cannot use font awesome without doing, well, by default. But if I use font awesome, for example, I could say, oh, I will add a class being font awesome home, right? This would be a nice way to have an icon instead of text. There's just some extra tip, but you can create your own classes, of course. Here I'm just using the standard font awesome icons, but you could create your own classes to have a special styling. For example, I could say, well, I want to show the label or even give only a class to the label, but I want everything to be in a box. So I don't remember in Bootstrap. Yeah, this is Protostar and it used Bootstrap 2. So I don't remember all the classes of Bootstrap 2 by heart, but the class well makes a gray background with a gray border, right? So I can really customize already a lot with all these rendering options. There is even a possibility to have an alternate layout for a given custom field. So this is a more advanced feature. If you don't even know what is an override, maybe this becomes too technical, but you could also say like, oh yes, but the email custom field, I don't want to display the email as such as it is by default, but I would like to have something special, like I don't know, another design. You don't want to display the address, but just a big button, email me, right? Then you could override the layout of that custom field and select here which layout you want to use. The render class we have already said, but you can also add classes when you edit the article. So this is the form options, right? And you can say label class. Well, I don't know all the classes by heart. I will also use well just to show what it gives. If I go and edit Nikki's articles, yep. Right, I can style here when people edit in the back end or even in the front end. This will apply. So I can even add classes so that, I don't know, for my users, maybe I want to have a color that red means that they are not supposed to do something, green means that they are supposed to do something, whatever. You can customize the styling or change the width with some styling, change the width of the box, for example. You can do all that by adding classes to the form itself, right? One thing which is tricky when you edit from the front end, I'll show you. Suppose I go to, I'm on Nikki's page and I want to edit well, obviously I can edit. I can change the article. I can put a URL. That's because I'm a super user. Yeah, that's a trick. Because I'm a super user, I can change her country and say, no, from now on, she's Belgian, right? And I can save it. And so many times it happened to me that I said, okay, everything is ready. And I sent my users, my administrators start to fill in the content. When they say, Mark, I cannot change the custom fields in the front end. I don't understand. And this is because when people are not super users, but even administrators, right? So in the back end, they could edit, but in the front end, there is something here in the custom fields that says that editing is not allowed, right? So actually, what you should do if you want your users to be able to edit from the front end, you should change this. So on the permissions tab, you should change this to allowed, right? You can do it custom field by custom field. But sometimes it's on some websites, I had like 20 custom fields, and it will be very cumbersome to do that. So actually, like for everything in Joomla, you have inheritance, right? So given the fact that all those custom fields are part of the speakers field group, then if I change the permission at this level, right, and say editing custom field is allowed here, then it will also apply to the custom fields belonging to that group. So let's take now the, for example, which speaker's country. Now the permission is inherited and it's unallowed, right? So it is much faster to work on the field group than at the custom field level when you want to change permissions, for example. Another thing I've not mentioned, but this is also very handy, is when you create custom fields, sometimes people need some help. So I already said that you could add a description to the custom field so that there is a tooltip when you hover the title, the label of the custom field. But you can also, if you add a description to the field group itself, this is a hint at the field group level, blah, blah, blah. Then what this will change is that when you edit the article, you will see that text. Sorry, I have to edit again. You will see that text in a box before all the custom fields. So this is a nice way to help your users to know exactly what they are supposed to type in those fields. You can have general comments. You can create several groups if you want to. If you have many custom fields and want to organize them, you can have several groups so that you have several tabs. And for each tab, you can have description here appearing in the box. And on top of that, you can have the description for each custom field, giving more hints about what is expected in the content. So I'll put back Australia, otherwise it's not fair. Okay, any questions so far?
It's fantastic, Mark. It's great potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are questions in the comment thread if you're finished, but
I'm not finished. But
no, keep going.
Okay. Then we can tackle all these at the end. Maybe it's easier because maybe some things will be said now. So
Correct.
It is very nice, but like when you want to create your own views like this, or like I was showing on this website. Right, where you had films. When you want really a customized layout like this, I mean, it's not just a list of custom fields. You want to be able to say I want 2 columns, some custom fields on the left column, some custom fields after the description, the right column, whatever. Then you need overrides. So overrides is a super powerful feature of Joomla. If you've never tried it, don't be afraid. Actually, it's not hard. It implies editing some PHP files. The first time I did it, I would not even know where you put the question mark in PHP, right? In the first line. So, but even if you don't understand the code, you see where is a line corresponding to the title, and you would just move it to some other place, right? So just by copy pasting, you can already do a lot with overrides. So let's see, but I would do it quite quickly. It could be a topic in itself. Let's see how to create an override. You go to extensions, templates, and there most of the time you go to styles, right? But here we want to go to templates. So extensions, templates, templates. There I see, okay, I only have Protostar installed, so I open it. And actually, I can edit any file of my Joomla templates, right? So it could be nice if I want to customize my CSS and I don't have FTP access, I could edit my user.css file directly from Joomla itself, right? Without my FTP software, whatever, I can edit all the PHP and CSS files of my template. This is for the first tab, but I can also create overrides. So like in this case, I want to create an override for an article. So components content, sorry. Okay. Because I was looking on the word articles, but because most of the time I make overrides for modules, right? But actually here I want to make an override for the article view. So the article are part of the component content, right? So I just click on content. Okay, there we have different things. We have for the archives, for one given article, for categories, or for a category. In this case, I want to select, if I'm not mistaken, category, but I'll just check quickly on the presentation so that I don't have to repeat it twice. Override, where is my override? Content. Okay, I just choose article because there are different ways to achieve what we want to achieve. So I go back here. So I just select, I move this articles. Now the website says the override is created in templates protostar HTML content article. So actually you can do that manually by FTP, but you can simply use Joomla to create the override. So the content HTML content article. So if I go to HTML content article, there I see that actually I have already made an override for my recipes. Do you see that? So here the file it has just created was a default file. So when I edit Nikki's page, no, not when I edit, when I open Nikki's page on the website, right? I have this layout, the standard layout, and say that I want to add some text. So what I was saying about if you're not a coder, you should be okay. Right, in the code, I can quickly find where the title is, right? Even if I don't understand PHP, I see that the word title is there and it is between, it has an H2 tag, right? Let's check if this is correct. So if I just type, this is a test here, right after the title, and I save. Let's see what it gives. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so I am editing indeed the correct file, allowing me to change the layout of this page, right? So here I don't want to add that, but if I want to customize the layout, I could say, okay, there I refer maybe to my article so that it's ready. Somewhere we display the text being the content of the articles, right? The free text. So what is called text is this. It's not the title, it's what you type in your editor. So where is this line? I will find that text. If you see it, just tell me. Render. Okay, here. This is the line displaying the content of my article, right? So actually, let's say I would like to have a new layout for my article, and I would like to have a 2-column layout. This is Bootstrap 2 in this template, right? So in Bootstrap 2, actually, when I want 2 columns, I should use span 6 and span 6 if I want two columns of equal size, right? Because the total is 12, is like 12 columns grid. So if it's 6 plus 6 or 4 plus 8, whatever. So here, if I replace my line displaying the text by the same thing, but by adding some HTML saying I want 2 columns. Here, so I will delete this and replace it by the same line, but surrounded by the HTML saying in Bootstrap 2, this is how I do 2 columns, and I save. I go to Nikki's article, and indeed, I have 2 columns because now the text is on the right, okay? Meaning that if I want to display the favorite meal in the left column, well, the favorite meal, I should check what the ID of the favorite meal is. So meal, the ID is 15, right? Here on the right. So just go back to my presentation if you're not familiar with PHP and with overrides, and just type this line, right? This just says echo, meaning display this is this article, right? And take the custom field having number X and take its value. So if you didn't know PHP before the session, now you already have the basics. So in the templates, I go back to where I was, yeah, and I could say here in the first column, so the first column is the span 4, right? The second column is the span 8. Here I will type this line, and I should not forget to replace the X by the ID of my custom field, which is 15. I save. And now in my override, I have my pizza here in the left column, right? Now, because I integrated in my own view of the article, I don't need it to display it twice, right? I was displaying it before creating my override because we had not seen how to make an override yet. But so favorite meal, actually, I could edit it and say, right, now that I have an override, I don't need to automatically display it. I don't automatically display it. And I will do the same for, what was the other one? Country. For the speaker's country, the ID is 13. And I will also say, well, now don't display it automatically, because I decide myself where it will appear and how it will appear in my code, in my layout. So here, sorry, because I have always the zoom bar in front of where I want to type. So let's say I want to have the second custom field in the left column. I would type it there. Now if I refresh, oh, maybe I've broken something. Just checking. What have I changed here? Oh, I just check. Oh, maybe it's because I'm okay. I think this is because I am logged in as in the front end, right? And so I have my button here, my editing button, which breaks my columns because it says, oh, I don't have room enough to display the second column because of the button. So I just log out from the front end, and I think it should be okay. Right. Okay, so it is correct. I have my left column, my right column, and all my custom fields that I have put in my left column. So I had 2 custom fields. I will retype the second one. It was number 13. So okay, I've typed the 2 custom fields, but I did not say that I wanted a new line. So it appears on the same line, right? Well, this is just pure HTML, right? In my override, even if you don't understand PHP, never mind. Here, if you want to have a new line, you can just say, let me insert a break. And there we have it, right? So this is how you can, then you can go further. And this is how you can create such a layout. This is basically the same thing, not with Bootstrap 2, with Bootstrap, I don't know, 3, I think it was at the time. But I said I want 2 columns and I want this layout, and here a class, and here a table, and here a button, and whatever. And this is how we created this design, right? Just by playing further here in the override. So that was a big thing, the override. Then actually, what I wanted also to say is that maybe I have the example here on this website. I will check so that I don't have to recreate everything. Speakers, but the recipes, yeah. Maybe I will show it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. So let's go back to the overrides. The annoying thing with what I've done with my override is that I have literally made an override in the sense that I've played with the default PHP file, meaning that all articles on my website will now have this double column, 2 column layout, which is maybe not what I want. Like for my film website, well, I want this layout only for the films, not for the news pages, right? Or for the home page, or for the whatever, the sponsors page. So actually, here we're not speaking about custom fields, we're speaking about how overrides and alternate layouts work. But if I want to say, no, but actually I don't want this layout for all articles, but only for some articles, then what I can do is simply, because this default.php, it applies to all articles. And if I rename it, so if I click on it and I rename it and I call it speaker, right? Rename. Now, if I go back to Nikki's page, well, we have just a simple article as before our session of the day, right? So how can I say that all articles of the speakers category should have this speakers layout, right? Actually, it's quite simple. So actually, when the file is named default, it is what is called an override. And when we take the time to rename that file to have our own name, like recipes or speaker, then it is the same thing, but it is called alternate layout, because then it can coexist with the default layout. It won't apply to all articles. It will only apply when you decide it. So how do we decide to apply this layout? Actually, when you edit the menu, the speakers menu, well, the speakers menu has some layout, okay? But if you go on the different tabs, you see that you can choose a layout. This is the layout that will be applied when you open one of those articles. So if you have several recipes or several speakers, here you can say, okay, when people will click on one of these articles on the speakers page, you should use this layout for the article. So it's on the options tab, right? I click on save. I go back to the website. I go back to the speakers page. Well, here I only have one speaker, but I could have like 10 speakers. But if I open Nikki's page, then I do have my double column layout, right? Now, if you would say, oh, Mark, we also want to customize the blog view. So this is the blog view. Maybe I will show it for recipes. For recipes, I have 2 articles. This is more obvious to understand, right? For the recipes, I have this layout. I could also make an override of this layout. If you say, oh, I would like to have the image before the title, I would like, then you just make the same thing in the overrides, but you would choose, let me go back to the page. Oh, sorry. I should go to templates. Templates, right. And HTML, sorry, create override. And when you create for contents, you could also, here I've made an override for just for articles, for simple articles. If you want to override the category block view, so this view, it's another override, and it's for, then you choose category. But it's the same principle, right? There you have the code, and you can say, I want to see the image, yes, no. I want to see a custom field here, yes or no. And you could then customize this view, right? But for what we've done, we only created an article override. And so this is why on the website, when I click on speakers, I have the regular category block view. And it's only when I click on one of these articles that I have my article override, right? But you can make overrides for everything. So one last thing, and I think we are done with almost everything, is that actually, what are custom fields? Custom fields are just technically plugins. If you go to extensions plugins, and I can also filter if I filter on fields, custom fields are just little plugins. So like for the URL, if I edit it there, well, I could change the options available for the whole website. So I could say, well, for all my website, I don't have to say it again. It will be only HTTP and HTTPS. So each custom field has its own options. We can change them in the plugins. Or if you say, look, I don't want my administrator to create SQL custom fields because I don't want this person to break the website and this is too complex for that person, I could just say disable this plugin. What it will change is that when you want to create a custom field, a new custom field, well, in the list, which one did I disable? I forgot.
The sequel.
The SQL, yeah. Sorry. So if I create a new custom field, the SQL is not there anymore. So if you want to simplify the list for your users, you can just simply disable the corresponding plugins. Or if you want to have a standard configuration for each custom field, just change it globally here. Like for the text custom fields, if you say, well, the maximum length should be 50 for all my custom fields, just set it up once here. It's easier. And actually, even if you're not a developer, if you just see what the code is for a custom field, it is so short, so simple, that you could even decide to say, hey, I can duplicate that one and customize it, right? Because I need, I don't know, you would like to have your own YouTube custom field. You can simply duplicate one of those fields, adapt slightly the code to change the layout, to change what it does. I mean, I would not be able to develop a component, right? But I would be able to duplicate a custom field to have my own custom field if I needed something special. Like if I wanted a TikTok custom field, it does not exist. Well, it would be super easy. You would just duplicate URL, but you would just change the way it renders, right? You would add an iframe, HTML tag, and basically that's it, right? So I think I've covered what I wanted to show, to have a global overview of what can be done with custom fields. So I still have 15 minutes or so before I have to go. But if you have any question now, it's the right moment.
Now what we typically do is we'll read through the comments that have popped up, that have bubbled up as you've been talking, and see if you can address them. Patrick, are you able to take over as host again, or are you going away?
No, I'm here. You can lead if you like, but everyone is loving this. I think it's one of those things that people haven't gone and done a lot of themselves to delve into what the capabilities are. A lot of people I know were using K2, and the last couple of months we've sort of gone through the page builder process. But you can use custom fields with most of the page builders that were being shown off. So there's some questions that were sort of going backwards and forth about the what are they called? The buttons to fill in the editors. Sometimes there seems to be some syntax issues that people tend to have. I guess one of the questions that I've worked out is you've got like the core plugin puts in the ID of the field, not the name of the field. Is that?
Yeah. So when you play with the overrides, here I show, well, maybe I should share my screen again. Yeah. I could not mention every detail which is available here in the presentation.
Nice.
So again, I refer to that. Maybe some things I did not say explicitly are mentioned there. But about the custom fields, for example, we have, oh yes, I forgot to mention, I want to thank Sander Potcher, which is a well-known Dutch Joomla, right? Because he's the one who wrote for the first time this a version of this step-by-step approach, right? The one you have on the slides is really the translation I made from his article published in the magazine. But if you go at the end of my presentation, you have links, well, to the Joomla Community magazine, and in one of those I explain more in details. I should check where it is. Is it that one or another one? No, it's yet another one. 1 second, because there you have all the explanation when you, if you want to use, I should check. I don't know by heart in which of those articles, but for those who want to not to use the ID in the override, but use the alias, right, the name, you can do it. But then there are more lines of code, because the way I showed it, when you just want to use the ID, is just one line of code, right, to insert the custom field. If you want to have the name, then you need to loop through the custom fields to make the correspondence between the name and the ID. Yeah. And so somehow when you read the override, it is easier to read the name. Yeah. But the code is a little bit more complex.
That's right. So the question was more when you're using the plugin for the editor, and it puts in the field, so it drops the field ID in. So, so this is more sort of, so.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. So when you're in the code part, that's fully understandable. I've used a trick that does that looping effect. Norm Douglas set up something that was in K2 originally for what he was doing, but then we've repurposed that. And then that means that you can read the code and identify the fields without knowing what the field structure is, which is quite handy. But it does add a little extra work to create the array. So when you, so where you're going to insert a field there.
Yeah. So actually, we were speaking about this button.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, here you see everything. You see the name, so the alias. Yeah. You also see the ID. But indeed, once you insert it, yeah, it mentions the ID. Actually, even the shortcode I never use, because I always use override. So it never happens that I need to insert manually in the text somewhere, because I prefer to make a nice override and say, hey, I'll put the image on the left, I put my text on the right, and I put my custom field. So actually, you exploit the full power once you use the overrides. And here it's a nice way to have, when you want to have your custom fields, not before or after the content, but in the middle of your content, then obviously you need this, right?
Yeah. So one of our other users, Norm Douglas, uses custom fields extensively, but the way that he actually lays out all of his content is that he's got a whole heap of regular labs plugins installed, and then he's created content templates that then pull in the various extra fields and lay it all out quite amazingly at times. Last time he ran through it with a sort of a lunchtime session with a few of us. All our jaws dropped as to how much he's actually doing just by using the color fields and other layout things to trigger different ways to make the site happen. So, all right. So another question that that a few people have highlighted to come up with again. Nikki, do you want to ask more on the filtering?
Yes, thank you very much, Mark. That was really informative. I've watched a couple of your videos, but I tend to get sidetracked when I've got a video running, and when there's actually people talking, I follow the whole thing. So my question was about your movie website. When you had the drop-down boxes to filter the different dates and movies and favourites and all that kind of stuff, I just had a question about how you were actually doing that filtering, if you're using a plugin or something, or how you, those. How did you do that?
Well, as I was saying, it's only a few years ago that I made my first override. At first, I would not even know where the question mark was in PHP, before or after PHP, right? It was just copy pasting or moving few lines. And then step by step, you start to see the power of it and to go further. And here, it's a bit the same story. Until I built this page, I had never played with JavaScript.
Right.
And so here I made it myself. So if you just go to this page and you see the code, you will say, well, JavaScript is jQuery, but as a starter, it was good enough for me. So with JavaScript, and actually the special thing about this page, about this filter, is that all articles here are on one page.
Yep.
So actually, when I filter here, what I do with JavaScript is just that I say, look, if I choose a province and I choose Brussels, what it does simply is say, okay, add a class display none to all the articles which don't have the class Brussels, right? I'm just playing with classes. I'm adding or deleting classes to show or to hide the articles. So these filters I made by hand, and I can do it because all the articles are on one page. If I had 1,000 films on this website, I could not make it, because here actually I'm always loading the 100 films, and it's just, the filters are just a question of hiding them with a display none, right? I say all the films which don't have this class, the class Brussels, I want to hide them. So I add the class hide. So this was a special case that I made really by hand, my first experience with JavaScript. But actually, if you want to do something nice, like quite similar, I'll just show you something else. And because indeed, it is always the next step. Once you see the power of custom fields, you say, oh, I would like to filter on custom fields, right? And this is another example, but this is more universal, right? So visually, you would think, but Mark, this is just the same. You are filtering, right? But actually, this is done using an extension, which is really great, really powerful. It is easy layout.
Yes, that's the J events guy, yeah.
Yeah, it is not free, but it's not expensive. I don't know. It's I don't know the conversion, because I speak in euros.
Yes.
You speak, and this is in pounds. So, but it's like $50, something like that.
It's
right?
about 100.
Yeah. So
in Australian dollars, but yeah. Okay.
So this is very easy because it's ready to use. And otherwise, there is also another one which is quite nice. Wait, I just find it back. Wait. Filtre. No, it's not that one. Mega filter. I don't remember by heart.
That's okay. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, it's not that one. filter, Joomla custom fields. It's Joomla. Yeah, it's that one. Sorry.
Ah, okay, cool. I'll have a look.
This one by Joomla. This one is free, so it depends on your needs.
Yeah.
But what I discovered, just for you to know, what I discovered with Easy Layout is, for me, the first reason I bought Easy Layout was to be able to have automatic filters, right? That you just build with drag and drop.
Mm-hmm.
But then I discovered that you can also use it to change the, you know, when you edit an article in the front end, for a basic user, there are 5 tabs, so many options, they are lost. They can be lost, right? And actually, when you have Easy Layout, you can also, independently of the question of custom fields, right? And the filters, you can also change the front end edit form so that you can say, okay, I just want to have title, description, custom field 1, custom field 7, and that's it. And the people don't see all the other stuff that we usually see, intro, image, tags, the different tabs, everything. You can really customize your edit form.
Excellent. I've got one more question. The override that you used for your Joomla Day schedule, I'm very interested in speaking to you about getting a copy of that. Because for our last Joomla Day, I think we were manually creating a separate schedule page, and but your idea of using the article fields to link and then having that one-page program that's generated will save a massive amount of time. So I might get in touch with you about that.
Yeah, sure. Actually, in that case, all the articles, the sessions, and the authors, and etc. are overrides, and we use the regular labs articles field to link them.
Link them, yeah.
Then to make that program page, wait, there is just one. I use articles anywhere. Actually, you could use also an override, but I wanted to go fast because it was first a test for me to say, oh, let's try to do it. I'll do it with articles anywhere because it was faster. Yep. And then it was done, and then I was too lazy to transform that into. So actually, if you, where is articles anywhere there? No, it's in the articles. So okay. No, it's in Replacer. I know where I will find it. Sorry, it's a long time I haven't. So actually, here what I've done. It is also made with CSS Grid.
Oh, okay. Very good.
This is how it works. So, okay, I have a short code calling basically articles anywhere. So I loop through all the articles, right?
Yep.
Here I say all the articles, all the sessions having the tag Friday and with some ordering. And then I put everything. And actually what happens is that I use CSS Grid because if I take one given session, the thing is that sometimes you have the program, then, oh, a speaker changes a day, another one changes a room, another one changes a time. And it's difficult to track everything. So if I take a session like, I take this one. I created two custom fields, well, several custom fields. One to say which session, session 1 a.m., session 3 p.m., right?
Yep.
The slots. Then I could, I also have the day, I also have, but everything is in custom fields.
Right.
And actually, when you log in on the website, right, so this page is hidden now because this is a program of last year, but actually it's all made with everything appears in the right cell only thanks to CSS Grid.
Right.
Is actually, if I just, well, oops, it's a long time I haven't done it. So.
It's okay. I've managed to pick the two really hard questions for you.
Schedule, right? Start custom CSS. Okay. If this was not a grid, right, I will delete in my CSS the grid.
Yeah.
Actually, everything is just a list of articles, right? There is no layout.
Ah.
And it is thanks to grid and thanks to the custom field where I say it is slot 2, room 2, that everything goes in the right cell, right?
Excellent.
So it's a combination of using CSS grids so that every session goes in the right cell and just custom fields.
Excellent. That will keep me busy before the next Joomla day, which could be years away. So
That is very slick.
it is good. Excellent. All right. I don't have any more difficult questions for you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
That layout's about 3 years too late for what I needed it for. So.
I'm just checking to see if there are any other questions.
Is there any limitation about hierarchy, about nesting or grouping groups within groups within groups? If you were going to, let's say you were linking articles to articles in a way that a speaker might have multiple articles, but then might there be another layer beyond that? Is it an infinite amount of recursion that's possible to keep drilling down and have more children? For instance, let me say it this way. So let's say I have a botanical website, and I'll start at the genus level, then there's the species, and then kingdom. They go through the whole scientific order to get down to an article, which is an individual plant. Is that sort of thing possible within this, or are there some limitations? Theoretically, is it possible? Or?
Theoretically possible.
In the custom fields, my field groups are flat, right? I mean, I don't have sub-field groups, subgroups. Right. But I've never had. Well, I've already played a lot, really a lot with custom fields. I've never come across such a limitation that I had issues because of nesting or. But okay. Maybe if you have a use case, we can see. But if it refers to linking articles between themselves, that is something specific to the custom field made by regular labs, right?
Right.
But so there you have to check what you want to do and see, because the link works in both directions. Like when
That's
I have
why I like it. Yeah.
So it makes it really powerful, really powerful.
Right.
The documentation is well, Peter Van Westen added many features to his custom field because I was busy with this, and every time I was saying, "Oh, it's very sad. I have everything I need except this little detail," and every time he would add the little detail, right? So it has improved a lot, but it's very handy.
Mm. Yeah, all right. Well, I loved your presentation, and as other people have said tonight in the comments, and people who have spoken to me outside of the comments, it almost feels like the forehead slapping moment where you've wasted lots of time making plugins and modules and custom writing code, whereas if you would just have known all of the beauty and the power behind these simple techniques, you could have really saved yourself a lot of hard coding and a lot of toil. It's really great, even when you do something, when you give us a walkthrough of something, really simple, really basic techniques, there's always something that we're going to find that we weren't doing that's just going to make life a little bit better. So I appreciate it. It's a really, really valuable one tonight. Good on you.
I know when I spoke at the last JNB right, the last Word conference, I spoke with David Jardin, the German guy, and he was telling me that actually they have refactored several of their components extensions, tailor-made for customers, right? To make them much lighter thanks to custom fields. So maybe they would still need something special, tailor-made, but they have refactored everything to use custom fields, but it makes everything much lighter, and you can integrate them in your own component if you build components. So, but even there, even for a contact form, like as I said in the introduction, I think Nikki published a couple of years ago, an article about how to override the Joomla contact form using custom fields, and yeah, so you can really it changes a lot. It's a game changer in Joomla. It was a game changer.
Nick, you were asking about levels, levels of data and levels of fields. Some of these fields are clearly arrays. There's one called repeatable, for instance, which lets you specify a number of simple elements.
Right.
So you're going to get some depth out of that. If you use that in a group, then you've effectively got an array within a group, although the group itself is just a simple structure, a simple list of fields.
Right.
Okay, but there's a fair bit of complexity underneath it as well. Some of the others, like image list, for instance, is an array as well.
And the repeatable fields are really something. In Joomla 4, the repeatable fields will be improved. It was already coded for Joomla 3, but then there were issues and it was complicated for backward compatibility, etc. But those repeatable fields make it even more powerful, because as I was saying, if you want to have an article and you don't know in advance how many fields you will have, like if for a speaker, if you want to have a list of all the events the person has made before with the name and date, you don't know in advance whether for some it will be 1, other ones will be 50. And with repeatable fields, you can tackle that. So far, what I had to do is that I knew that my maximum was 10, so I created 10 times the same custom field, just as a quick workaround. But with repeatable custom fields, we have part of it here, but in Joomla 4, it will be even more powerful.
Yeah. So about the repeatable fields, for what I was asking, I think it becomes a dead end for the recursion in that I'm imagining that you can't use the repeatable field as a new way to traverse into a subgroup. So I was specifically concerned with having a subgroup and a subgroup and a subgroup and being able to walk your way, navigate between all of those. But it was just a theoretical question. After I spent a lot of time coding it up for Stuart.
I think it'd be a lot easier to link your field groups together and your fields by referencing foreign keys across the field groups rather than getting into recursion. I don't know what would happen with recursion inside the Joomla engine if you tried to do it. And I wouldn't be game.
That's my trouble, is that I'm game, but sometimes when you're game, you hit dead ends and you waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well,
you find out the hard way.
Yeah.
I'm just going to butt in because I know that Mark's got a limited amount of time that he can join us for today. So I thought I'd just throw in the thanks for him. We can keep chatting afterwards. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. And as you can tell, all of us are going to be hacking away at our websites and using custom fields instead. So it's all very good. Luca's chasing you for some articles at the moment, which you'll see in Glip in a minute. So you can get back to him.
Yeah, but if you have built websites using custom fields, just send me the link, because for future articles in the Joomla community magazine about custom fields, it's nice having examples because it gives inspiration to people. Examples of, oh yeah, you can do that. A bit like Nikki was asking, how did you make that schedule table for your Joomla day with custom fields? So I mean, when you see the examples, you realize, hey, yes, that would apply to me. So I would be happy if I can have more examples of realizations.
I'll be sure to send you the one that I worked out today. So my article this month for magazine is on Joomla for web services. So what you'll actually be able to do now is inject values back into your Joomla database from a different API. And so you can actually populate custom fields with information from a third-party database just with a simple API call. And so that means that you can pull like the Australian tourist data warehouse data or something like that to then populate all your articles with relevant information. So when I get that one done, that's going to be a big one. I saw that you had ACF installed, which is Tassos's advanced custom fields. Have you used any of Alyssa's CoolCat ones?
Also, yes, sure.
Yep.
That's what I was saying, that I'm about to publish
That
probably in
list of 100?
September
Yep.
in the Joomla community magazine. Well, I just share my screen again. Wait, sync,
And
custom
I've just
fields.
posted a link to your J and Beyond presentation into the chat as well. So for J and Beyond this year, Mark did a presentation on how to integrate OpenStreetMap in as a custom field. So you can use OpenStreetMap to display locations, which is another cool feature.
Yeah. So you see here, I mentioned the ones by Elisa as well. I've made a list. This is a French version, the old French version. I'm updating it because there are many more now than 2 years ago when I wrote that. So the ones by Elisa, there is a series by Tassos, there are so many. I mean, the idea was not to mention them all today. Okay, but I love them all, right? It's not, they are very powerful things.
Cool. Oh, okay. So you can integrate with Aki mailing as well. I just saw fly past there. Yep.
Yeah. So you can do, and here I have the explanation somewhere about how to use the name instead of the ID. You have to loop. Okay, but that's for the next time. Thanks a lot for having me. I have to go because I have a meeting now. But it was a pleasure for me to fly to Australia today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mark. We really appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
That was excellent, Mark. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Owen.
So I just heard an unfamiliar accent. So Owen is joining us from Joomla London. Thanks, Mark. See you.